I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You join me in prayer, please. Tonight's prayer is from the words by Samuel Adams, an American revolutionist and a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Heavenly Father, I conceive we cannot better express ourselves than by humbly supplicating the supreme ruler of the world, that the confusions that are and have been among our nation may be overruled by the promoting and the speedily bring in the holy and happy period in which the kingdom of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ may be everywhere established. Amen. Amen. Welcome everyone to our Thursday, January 31st, 2013, 5 o'clock public business meeting. Commissioners. All right. Gentlemen, are there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
No, sir.
Nope. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of our January 17th, 2013 public business meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, I got an email today from a Mr. Rick Laurie, the Vice President and Development of Maryland Public Television, to let me know that the production of Our Town Cumberland, is ready to have a debut on March the 9th at 7 o'clock on MPT. However, they are going to give Allegany County some previewings, and there's going to be two of them. One is going to be on March the 6th at the Frostburg Community Center, and then on Thursday, March the 7th, at the Western Maryland Health System. Both of those venues will start at 6:30. And as you may recall, Commissioners, Our Town is a 60-minute production focusing on Cumberland and Frostburg with the bicentennial, and highlighting both Cumberland, Frostburg, and Allegany County as a whole. This will be on their website as well as running on MPT. And if you did or did not get a chance to see Our Town, Hagerstown, Our Town, Chestertown, it ended up being quite a hit. And if you remember, anyhow, look forward to being at that event and seeing that documentary. So that's what I have on that. All right. Under our action agenda, gentlemen, item number 1 is the Allegany County Transportation Development Plan. Understand that Mr. Stafford is here to shed some light.
Commissioner McKay, Commissioner Brody, Commissioner Valentine, it gives me pleasure to tonight bring our final edition of our Transportation Development Plan. This is a working plan that will map out the next 5 years for Allegany County Transit. We have worked on this for over a year now, and we think we have a good plan, things for the future, what we can look at, and hopefully things that we might be able to implement if, our economy gets a little bit better. I'd like to recognize and tell you, this wasn't just done by Allegany County Transit employees. We were there, but on the board, we have board members here, advisory board members. Our Director of Public Works, Paul Kale, was on the committee. Elizabeth Joy from CBiz, John Sangiovanni, Department of Social Services, of course, Roy Cole and Sierra Smith, myself and Christine. And the other ones we had was representatives from the Western Maryland Health System, and Courtney Thomas, HRDC, Sue Piles from Archway Station, Cindy Smith of Frostburg State University, Tim Carney with the Allegany County Economic Development, Kevin Turley was the Western Maryland Health System representative, Connie Davis with Service Coordination, Darrell Lee Powell when he was with the Cumberland Human Resources Commission, Ryan Davis with Tri-County Council, Guy Winterberg with Tri-County Council, Jay Walbert, Board of Education, retired. He was on the, Larry Humberson with the Board of Education, and of course, Joel Eisenfeld, who will present the thing from KFH, and also Holly Case. So it was a good rounded committee that came up with a good plan, and with that, and hopefully after you see the presentation, you will adopt this plan. I'll introduce Joe Eisenfeld to present a couple slides to explain the plan. And each of you do have a copy of the executive plan right in front of you. Joel?
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, commissioners. Good evening, everyone. I think along the way, hopefully everyone's had a chance through this last year, as Jim had mentioned, through many opportunities through the Transit Advisory Committee, through a few other opportunities. We met here, I guess, at the end of the summer to go ahead and talk about some nuances that were a little unique, that we rolled things out, and we'll talk about that as well as a couple surveys for the general public as well as riders that we had a chance. So this is the culmination of all those aspects together, and I'll go ahead and present this. If there's any questions, please feel free, we can go ahead along the way. So the basic thing is we always like to start is what exactly is a transit development plan or transportation development plan? It's something that's required by the Federal Transit Administration receiving planning funds, as well as the Maryland Transit Administration, who provides the bulk of the planning dollars along with the local match from Allegany County. It's typically a short-term plan, a 5-year outline of transit system development. It provides a vision of future public transportation system, a snapshot of where you are now, some short-term opportunities, as well as a vision beyond that to go ahead and strive for. As I often like to think of it, I think of it as a menu. It's not requiring you to do anything, but it gives you an opportunity to analyze and look at what your possibilities are. So when things come available, economic challenges, or hopefully flourishments, then you have an ability to go ahead and act without having to go ahead and go back to the drawing board. As Jim mentioned, this process really was guided by a culmination of agencies and individuals. Allegany County Transit on a weekly, even daily basis, a lot of times, in working with us, the Maryland Transit Administration, on weekly and quarterly basis with the Transportation Advisory Committee, and then on an ongoing basis, as I mentioned, with the public and the commissioners, as well as other county staff. I guess from the beginning is what we try to tackle is what goals and objectives we wanted to go ahead and challenge ourselves with in evaluating and hopefully achieving. These are the ones that really rose to the forefront of ones that we felt were things that we wanted to accomplish through this plan. Offer safe and dependable transportation that connects really residents to jobs, essential services, medical and shopping opportunities, as well as for school. Maintain and enhance existing Allegany County transit services while increasing system efficiency. So our first, as well as that, was we didn't want to make it go backwards in a sense. We wanted to ensure that at least we would improve upon, or at least improve upon in terms of where people are and where they need to go based on the existing, at the time, service. Provide adequate mobility options that enable residents to age in place. As we keep hearing that, I think is a more common, that people really are growing up and staying within counties and cities, and what are the opportunities when really the traveling in their own personal vehicle is no longer an option. Improve service through coordination between Allegany County Transit and other county stakeholders and transportation providers, both private as well as other human service agencies. And the last thing would connect residents to jobs to support economic development. Often transit is overlooked in the sense that it's really a needed service for those who are dependent upon it, but making it those for who maybe aren't dependent on it and having economic opportunities throughout. So the TDP process really starts with the evaluation of the current transportation services within the county. It does a good evaluation and a detailed evaluation of how services are operating, where are they traveling to, as well as what are the opportunities that lie within. Coupled with that, we look at the land use, the demographics, where people reside. Especially we often talk about transit-dependent populations, individuals without a vehicle available to them, often elderly, sometimes disabled, as well as looking at where the opportunities are in the sense that where are the jobs, where's the shopping, where are the medical needs, and then trying to look at that and map that and connect those opportunities. So with that, then, we also look at, we're not naive to the fact that data can only tell you so much. You need people who live here, who work here, who understand the complexity of that. So we got guidance from the Allegany County officials, transit staff, the advisory committee, as well as I mentioned, the public input. We had 2 surveys, an onboard survey, as well as a general public survey that was available and had a high response, thanks to really great assistance from Allegany County Transit and their staff in getting that distribution of that material out. So based on that, what were the issues that we found? I think we saw really 4 or 5 clear-cut issues. The first one, connectivity between routes. Routes are really designed to be almost independent routes. Sometimes they coincide with one another, but a lot of times they didn't work well as one system. They are more kind of collection of individual routes. Dependability. That's especially when we did the onboard survey and rode along. Unfortunately, just how the routes were developed and how really demographics evolved over time, we really lost a lot of time in terms of the buses. They couldn't keep their schedules and people couldn't depend upon them as much as they really would like to. And in doing so, then you lost a lot of the credibility of having that ability and understanding of knowing that that service was going to get you to where you needed to on the time basis that you wanted to travel. Interest in service to Westernport. I know, I guess about 5 or 10 years ago, there was service there. And then based on lack of ridership, that was cut out. But there was greater interest again to see about adding service back to Westernport. Looking at the schedule and guide for ease of use to make sure that whatever is changed, that it was clear and the marketability of it was something that was on the forefront, as well as ongoing coordination with human service agencies. Allegany County Transit has really done a great job of partnership, as well as showing the understanding of the importance of transit and how it could alleviate a lot of human service transportation services on their own with partnerships of things that they could provide. So we looked at then, based on that, on the transit needs and analysis, where the existing stops were with the highest boardings, and the origin and destinations. Really the key stops and key areas we wanted to focus on and continue to focus on when we redeveloped this were Rose's Downtown Cumberland, Country Club Mall, Frostburg/Frostburg State, Allegany College, and the Western Maryland Health Systems. Those became almost what we call the pulse, the areas that we know we had to make sure the connectivity was there and include any improvements would need to be centered around those areas. So speaking of those improvements, what exactly were the ones that we needed to do? What highlighted? I think what came out was things need to be more punctual. The more punctual it is, the more people can rely on it, the more usage you're going to get out of that service, as well as provide a little more flexibility with travel plans. As we mentioned, the old routes, they served their purpose, but they were almost more unique and individual. They didn't necessarily serve the greater good. They served kind of pockets of good, and we wanted to really provide better customer flexibility in terms of service when we redesigned this. So in doing that, we compared transit needs with existing services. And with that, we wanted improvements focus on on-time performance, the need for customers to transfer, so what we call a one-seat ride. In the past, there are longer circuitous routes, but we wanted to try to do it as more direct links to where people are coming from and where they're going to, shortening travel times with that same thought process, and reducing headways. And when we say reduce headways, you can think of it as your bus stop, you're there, how much longer is it going to take for the next bus to arrive? And that's a headway. So we wanted to try to reduce that as best possible to make it more convenient and more attractive for riders. Of course, there's always issues along the way, and this is no different. One of the things that really became prominent when we were probably about halfway through or very close is that the operating costs needed to be reduced based on budget constraints in the county. And that's not unusual because all counties, unfortunately, in the state really took a hit. And so in doing so, we had to do a better job on limited resources more efficiently and shift away from the underutilized route segments became really our focus and the strength behind the plan. Improving on-time performance, as we mentioned, and then focusing on serving core areas of high demand. Let's serve the greater demand areas and serve them well, and then we can branch out after that based on the resources that were available. In doing so, we wanted to maximize hours of service to allow riders to use ACT for work, so better opportunities in the morning and the early evening for individuals. So with that, we had a reconfigured system, and I think many of you are familiar with that. We'll talk about that, but that was a system that went in place in September. The service focused on 4 core areas of high demand, and permits the highest connectivity within the county. Specifically, it's linking Cumberland to Country Club Mall, then on to Frostburg, and that becomes really your core area of service with links around that based on Cumberland as well. We expanded service to Westernport via Koning, as well as not only was it increased, we offered service 2 days a week and twice during that day, where previously it was only to Koning once a week, once a day. We also provided opportunities for early morning service and a later evening service, and this is designated to help individuals support businesses, workers, get them out to Frostburg earlier, as well as the Walmart area around the mall. And so it gave people an opportunity to go ahead and have job opportunities where maybe they wouldn't have in the past. With that, though, we had some strategy and phasing. We realized financially constrained, we often do that anyway with a plan, but this was even more so. We knew you had to go ahead and tighten your belt to make things work, and so we designed it in that capacity. So to implement the new network, it wasn't necessarily even financially constrained where it was in the past. It basically pulled it back even further, so it made it more efficient. But we also want to increase the marketing. In doing so, a new schedule was designed, and really the staff did a great job in showing and enhancing what opportunities are out there. The vision is just like that was mentioned early on. It's something that if opportunities come about where there's funding and such, it gives you the opportunity to go ahead and expand upon. And this network was unique in the sense that it allowed you that opportunity where you didn't have to really adjust things. It provided you the opportunity then to maybe put a vehicle on different routes, and then that would serve the purpose of expanding hours. You could extend it. Or you could reduce headways in the mornings and evening service by adding 1 or 2 buses. Reduce the headway on the Gold Line route, which is that main hub that takes you from downtown to the mall to Frostburg, and you can add another vehicle, and that itself would reduce headways. So we wanted to make it easy with the vision possible of making it useful in the same time. And then lastly, Saturday service was something that was mentioned. Now we really understand and we're realistic that financially this isn't going to be possible in the next 5 years, but it kind of gives you something in the future when the next plan, it builds off of that opportunity. Other recommendations, some were implemented and some are hopefully in the future, were increase all transfer to $3. And the commissioners did a great job of compromising, understanding that the initial, analysis allowed really for that all transfer to increase up to $4. That's the ADA complimentary paratransit. It's allowed to be twice what the fixed route fare should be. But understanding that that would be a hardship, they recognized that and put it down to $3 at this time to evaluate it in the future use. Some other things we recommended to look at were expanded fare options, maybe an all-day pass, or having the opportunity for individuals to pay online. Evaluate the bus stops and shelter improvements. Right now, to look at bus stops, sometimes you have a flag stop opportunity. Should there be bus stops, and every bus stop should have a schedule? Should there be criteria for shelter improvements, the certain number of stops where individuals are there, that shelter improvements are mandated by the number of individuals who utilize that. So those are some opportunities in the future to look at. As well as potential technology improvements. Right now you have manual fare boxes, electronic fare boxes, or some things called mobile data terminals. Things like that are technology that are now in the field that could be explored to help both in terms of capturing the dollars that individuals use to ride, as well as it helps the staff when they capture ridership numbers, and you can do it more on a real-time basis. Coordination, or continued coordination, I should say, exploring with Allegany College of Maryland, maybe a similar aspect like Frostburg has, where basically they pay almost on a contractual basis, and their students then get to use their card to ride for free, as well as additional human service agencies, ensuring that coordination with them, and then providing maybe certain schedule allotments, especially if they provide certain funding opportunities, kind of sponsoring service in a way. And then the last recommendation is one that we often we look at, and that's not something, at one point that it was Allegany County Transit was under community services and under planning, and they worked together, and they still work together hand in hand, but right now it's kind of pulled aside Department of Public Works, looking at does it make sense to keep it still at Department of Public Works, or maybe moving it back under where, a joint component under planning, under community services. So I guess the last slide here I'm going to leave you with is what are the benefits of the transit plan? I think you've already seen some of that with the existing ridership that's occurred, but one of the things that three things actually, improve service through route modifications to make transit more attractive and usable. And it's amazing how what you can do, even though you've scaled back and the budget is on, by going ahead and realigning and making improvements, that there's really those more attractive and usable. Improving connectivity between key hubs within the county. That's something we want to ensure that those key points were ones that were accessed and had the most opportunities for riders. And the last thing to leave you with is that provides transit infrastructure improvements to support continued growth in transit. So as I mentioned, as opportunities become available, potential funding, there's that opportunity with limited efforts, just a little bit of funding, then can improve it and continue to grow transit in Allegheny County.
Okay, thank you, Joel.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thank
that,
you,
sir.
Joel.
Thanks, Jim.
With that, Commissioners, that's our plan for the future, and hopefully you will adopt this plan as outlined by Joel. And thank you for doing it.
Certainly. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Jim or Joel? Or anybody else on the, no?
No, sir.
Yes, Mr. Wilmot?
I just got two questions. What is your daily cost for this transportation that we have today? Daily cost?
Daily cost, that's a hard one. You know, we take in, I'd have to get the figures. I really can't, I couldn't get those figures for you. If you would call me and I'll give you my card, I can give you that.
Well, if you could just maybe publish them in the next question, how many passengers do you average per day?
Passengers per day, again, it fluctuates between what we call our all-trans service, which is our curb-to-curb, where people who can't use a fixed route. For instance, like the Frostburg State, we might move in an 8-hour segment, we might move 250 students. On a smaller route, we might move 50 people to 100 people on the green route that goes from Cumberland to the Country Club Mall. On the express route, we go from the Gold Line out of here to Frostburg. It could be 25. Now, again, it goes up and down, but with the new alignment, what we put in, it seems like that people like the express route. They want to get there in a short amount of time. And again, you still have miles to go. You know, we got 12 miles from here to Frostburg. You just don't do that in 10 minutes.
Next question.
Yes, sir.
Is the money coming in for the cost to ride, is it paying for your daily costs?
No, without the subsidy we get from the Federal Transportation Administration, which is about 50%, and then the state 25, and then we try to keep the line item at the county at 25.
I was just wondering.
But no, we could not run and offer a $2 fare one way, $4 round trip.
I've never rode it myself, but I was just wondering, you know.
If you've ever gone in a taxi cab from here basically to Bishop Walsh area, about $13. So we do it for $2. So.
Okay. Commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion that we authorize the commissioners to accept the Allegheny County Transportation Development Plan as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you again to the board and everyone who helped out with that. Thank you, Joel. Commissioners, item number 2 is Resolution 13-2. And Mr. Cool is here, our transportation planner, to explain Resolution 13-2.
This is simply a requirement that we have in order to apply for our annual grant for both the operations and capital to keep the transit running. This is something that we have to put in the grant application, even though the commissioners can apply for grants anyhow. We have to have a resolution saying that they can. So we do this
Okay.
every year.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions on what we do every year?
Just red tape.
And that we have to
Red
do
tape.
what we don't when we do? Because we can when we can't? Okay, no questions.
I'll make a
All right.
motion that
Entertain a motion to authorize the county administrator or the president of the county commissioners to file grant applications for public transportation as prescribed to the approval of federal and state transit funding. Is there a motion?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cool. Oh, you're on item number 3.
Next one is
Look at
also,
that.
is also part
He's
of our
quick.
annual grant application process, and that is that we must give opportunity to have a public hearing. In this case, we'll be advertising for, and I'll conduct the public hearing on March 4th, 1 o'clock here in this room.
4th at 1 o'clock. Commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the public hearing notice to be published in the newspaper of general circulation for the public transportation grant application hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, Roy.
Cool. Mr. Eberly, what do we have on our consent agenda today, sir?
It's voluminous, Commissioners. We have one item on your consent agenda for this week, and it relates to board appointments.
Board appointments, okay. Gentlemen, what is your pleasure? Entertain a motion to accept our consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Eberly.
Commissioners, as we do every time this year, we'll have an opportunity to provide correspondence relative to legislation in Annapolis, and the correspondence that I've prepared for you this week relates to House Bill 11, which is the Maryland Mine Coal Tax Credit repeal. This letter has been drafted to Chairwoman Hickson of the House Ways and Means Committee. And if Commissioners don't have a problem with it, I'd like to enter this into the record. If you would
Okay.
like me to read it,
Please,
I can do that.
please do.
Get you a copy and pass it as well. Again, this is to the Honorable Sheila Hickson, Maryland House of Delegates, House Ways and Means Committee, Annapolis, Maryland. Once again, referencing House Bill 11, the Maryland Mine Coal Tax Credit repeal. Dear Chairwoman Hickson, as we have have stated consistently during previous legislative sessions, the Board of Commissioners of Allegany County is strongly opposed to any attempt to advance the repeal of the Maryland Mine Coal Tax Credit. Coal mining in Allegany County is an essential component of our local economy. Repealing the tax credit will have a negative impact on many small businesses in our community which depend on mining activity as their primary source of commercial support. As we have stated previously, this proposal not only threatens our local economy, but it will directly impact the method by which the state relies to restore properties which were once mined and never reclaimed. Chairwoman Hickson and committee members, the Allegany County Commissioners respectfully request that you continue to support the coal tax credit. We thank you for your thoughtful consideration of this important request to support business here in Allegany County. Sincerely.
Any comments? Commissioners?
I actually have one. Also, Dave, I talked to Mayor Ed Clemens of Luke down at Pace a little bit about this, and he offered up maybe a suggestion of Westernport County, Frostburg, and himself in a sidebar letter or a letter attached in support of this also, since it's very vital to their communities too.
Okay.
So if you would contact them and see.
I will do so.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was interesting in a meeting with the gentleman that wrote the bill to withdraw the coal tax credit this year. He had the understanding that there were coal miners in Allegany County making a $500 to $800 million a year profit. Now, it's sort of scary that we have delegates that believe such things, but that was one of the reasons why he wrote this bill. He couldn't see giving a tax subsidy to somebody making that much money.
Anyhow.
Which was the same delegate that suggests that we sell every ounce of coal we mine to China because China deserves a cheaper energy than the United States does. I just had to throw that out there because
Calm down.
I know, everybody brought me out of my seat down there when he actually made that remark, so.
Anyhow, we did meet with the delegate during PACE. I did have a referee outfit that I was putting on, and so as soon as Commissioner Brody left, I was able to take the referee, blow the whistle, and tell the guy it was time out. But on February 6th, Commissioners, that'd be the hearing for this bill, and I do believe we will have representation from the Commissioners testifying. Hopefully, that will not make it out of committee. So we do need a motion to sign letter referencing House Bill 11, the Maryland Mine Coal Tax Credit Repeal. Is there a motion?
So move.
In second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty. This must be a typo here. It's something about county attorney.
Oh, I thought that's a county anatomy.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. We appreciate your attendance here.
Oh, you're welcome.
You know, you bring debonair and dashing to the table.
Just trying to add a little.
Yeah. You wrote down that said that you bring sexy back, but I'm not sure that that's what we need to go with. Anyhow, all right. Commissioners.
If you would, sir, I would like to go first tonight if I could in lieu of time because I have another meeting to attend here shortly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to forego reading the calendar this week. As always, it's posted on the web. Just as a little notification of some things that I set in on, as well as everyone else at PACE, of what our Department of Public Works brought back to Allegany County this year. And I'll inform everyone from a note here. The commissioners in the Department of Public Works meant to discuss existing and proposed water and sewer projects with the following agencies: USDA Rural Economic and Community Development, Maryland Department of Environment, Water Quality and Financing Administration, Maryland Department of Environment Water Supply Program, Maryland Housing and Community Development. Details for currently funding projects with an estimated project cost of $13 million discussed, which included Mount Savage Water Projects, Jennings Run, Wills Creek Sanitary Sewer Improvement Projects, Rawling Water Project Phase 1, Bedford Road Sanitary District Sewer Improvement Projects. Project information was presented for planned and future projects, at this time receiving new funding of approximately $6 million. Looks favorable for Rawlings Water Project Phase 2 and Braddock Sanitary District Sanitary Sewer Improvement Projects. Gentlemen, this was a bunch of work that our Department of Public Works did for us, and they brought back a very bunch of money, which in our infrastructure is the lifeblood of this county. So I'd personally like to thank the Department of Public Works for what they did down there, and also thank you, Paul, for facilitating this, because not only does he handle the county, he also sets the agenda for the other municipalities that showed up, and it was a bunch of work, but it sure paid off, so good
Wonderful.
news.
Yep, very good news. Commissioner Valentine.
Sort of relating back to what Dave was talking about with the coal tax bill, I'll be headed to Annapolis every Wednesday from now till the end of session. Have two different MACO committee meetings, plus after those meetings, I always like to visit with our local delegation or any other delegations that we have to have conversations with. Plus, many times there's hearings on bills that are important, so when we're there, we can also take part in those hearings. It's very important to have a voice in Annapolis nowadays. And I think Allegany County's got that voice now. We're very strong in MACO, and plus the formation of the Rural Counties Coalition has already had a pretty good impact. That's mainly Mike's doing there. I think it says a lot that Mike was capable of getting a visit with the Speaker of the House the other day. That doesn't happen unless somebody's taking notice. So congratulations to Mike for everything he's done on the Rural Counties Coalition, and we'll see how things work out in Annapolis this year.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. It's a teamwork of all the counties getting those type of meetings with the Speaker as well as the House Majority Leader as well. I met that day with the Senator. So, okay, constituents. Looks like we have Mr. Broadwater. As you come up, Clarence, if you'd give your name and address for the record.
My name's Clarence Broadwater from Maloney County, Maryland. I'm the president of the Allegany and Garrett County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. I have several questions been asked. What effect Rocky Gap will have on emergency services? And before I go any farther, I'm behind Rocky Gap 100%. If we're going to spend money, let's spend it in Allegheny County instead of West Virginia or Pennsylvania. Also, I'm not asking for any answers tonight. It's just a heads up if what I asked you should occur. And chances are it won't, but we're hoping not. Paper gambling. We receive funds from paper gambling to help support the fire companies. The economy is pretty bad right now. People's only spending a certain amount. If they go to Rocky Gap, are they not going to go to our clubs and that and spend the money which we received a percentage of for the company? Secondly, bingo. I don't think Rocky Gap will bother bingo a whole lot. Bingo is hurt two ways. One, the older people are passing on, the younger people are not playing bingo. The third thing that concerns us is cash bashes. Everyone's having a cash bash now, and that is a way for us to raise some money to help support the fire service, mainly the fire service more so than the ambulance service. The ambulance service do charge a fee when they take you to the hospital. The fire service, we get occasionally someone will give us a donation. We do it for free. We depend a lot on the cash bashes, but if I have $100 to spend, I go to Rocky Gap and spend $100 there. I'm not going to go to one of the fire service bingos because I don't have that kind of money with the way the economy is. So what our question is, and being president, I'd like everyone to just keep in mind if this should affect us, because it's a big expense to operate these volunteer fire services. If this should happen, we would like for you to have some kind of a plan in the back of your mind or something that you can help support these fire companies and keep them operating, because they are very important to the communities.
Well,
thank you, gentlemen.
We share your same concerns. We've already thought of those things. And so, yeah, we will be working on something to.
Oh, there is a plan? Okay.
There is no plan
No
yet.
plan, but you have it in mind. That's
Right.
that's what we want.
Right. Everything has a cause and effect. And we're not exactly sure what the revenues and what exactly Rocky Gap is going to do to those. However, we do understand that if there is an impact, we, the commissioners, are going to have to figure out some way to help it. Now, I don't know what that answer is at this point, but we have, staff is working on that.
Okay, that was the main thing that I need to take back to the meeting.
Staff is definitely working on that. But like anything at the beginning, there's all kinds of numbers being thrown around that what the county's going to make out of this and what they can't. The proof is going to be in the pudding. And so really we're going to have to see what two things are. A, what is the effects on you all?
Right.
That's important. And second of all, what is actually being realized? If you remember when Rocky Gap was brought here, it wasn't going to cost us anything. It was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I believe now that it's in the private sector, it's got the best chance that it's ever had. But that being the case, we went through a lot of growing pains of Allegheny County of what were promised. And so I don't want to do the same thing to you to promise you something. However, that staff is looking at it to figure out a plan and understand the trick bag for the lifeblood of our communities is our volunteer fire departments and all first responders in general.
Thank you very much. That's what we're looking for, is
Okay.
we have a plan.
We'll work on it for
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
What was the greatest thing before sliced bread? I've never figured that out.
But it's food, so it doesn't matter. I'm happy about that regardless. Look, he's all upset because I went to the Roadkill Cafe today, had a nice meal, good meal, and he's upset because it wasn't on the dietary menu.
No, he's upset because he wasn't with you, because he likes the
Ribs.
Yeah, it was ribs. It was ribs, mashed potatoes, green beans. Oh, it's delicious. And we all can go. We just get in one of the buses and go. Can we get federal okay with that? No, just kidding. Okay, I'd like to remind everyone of our next public business meeting, which will be February the 7th, 2013, at 5 o'clock right here in room 100. Our next public work session will be February 14th, 2013, at 3 o'clock in room 212. I'd like to make an announcement that the Allegany Animal Control Advisory Board will be meeting Tuesday, February 5th, 2013, at 6 o'clock in this room, room 100. As this Board of Commissioners always like to end the meeting, we thank you for participating in your government, and we hope you have a nice evening. Thank you.